Bonnie definitely is the ultimate shitlord.
Pokemon Ranger, I choose you!
What's up everybody, it's your Pokemon Ranger Boy here, and welcome to another review of the Pokemon X, Y, and Z anime. Today guys, we are tackling episode 21, which is called A Bride for Clement, Bonnie's Shibu Play Panic. I gotta say that today's episode was by far one of the most weirdest and at the same time one of the most funniest episodes I have seen so far. The comedy in this episode was nearly everywhere, and Bonnie proves in this episode that she's indeed the ultimate shitlord. So without any hesitation, let's get right into the review! We are starting off today's episode with a nightmare of Bonnie, where her brother is waking her up cause he will get married. Being surprised and shocked at the same time, Bonnie wakes up from that nightmare and quickly tells herself that something like her brother's marriage will never ever happen, and with that good feeling in her mind, she falls asleep again. But it appears that during the next morning, this nightmare still is bothering Bonnie a lot, even to the point where she can't tell Serena about it. But after an invention of Clement exploded, man, I missed that joke. We are watching a fun little football game between all the Pokemon, but during that game Bunnelby has to search for the lost ball, and suddenly finds a Baneri with the ball in its hands. Baneri seems to be not only really shy, but also immediately in love with Bunnelby. That's what I call love at the first sight. And speaking of love at the first sight, we are being introduced by a lovely lady called Lilia, who is the trainer of Baneri. And our shitlord Bonnie, like always, has to propose to her. But surprisingly enough, she actually is searching for a partner so that both can run a company called Orange Company together. By the way, nice Apple Company reference. So after this encounter, Clement shows Lilia all his inventions, which actually surprised me, since I thought that most of them exploded in the past. But nonetheless, Lilia is really impressed by all those inventions, which of course makes Clement happy as well, which also ticks Bonnie really off. But what pisses Bonnie off even more is the fact that Ash seems to support the two of them. After realizing how much the two of them are getting along, Bonnie immediately had to think about her nightmare and that she would have to take responsibility for the gym if Clement got married with Lilia. And while thinking about cheesy romantic moments of Lilia and Clement, Bonnie is shivering like crazy. But not only Clement and Lilia are getting along really well, but also Bunnelby and Baneri, although Bunnelby doesn't look that happy. Which strangely enough causes a teamwork situation between Chespin and Pancham, who usually don't get along well, but since they are both jelly at Bunnelby's new love, they decide to put their fighting on hold and instead are trying to separate Baneri from Bunnelby. And while there are love conflicts everywhere, we are taking a quick look at Team Rocket, spying on our heroes like always, and especially Jessie took an eye on Baneri since she thinks that the Pokemon of Team Rocket aren't cute enough, which makes James sad, since he really likes his Inkay. Speaking of cuteness, there's another cute scene between Lilia and Clement, followed by another cheesy dream of Bonnie about the future OTP Clement and Lilia, and this time both Bonnie and Dedenne get so furious that Dedenne spontaneously decides to shock Lilia with a nuzzle attack, which our shitlord Bonnie appreciates. The situation seems to get more and more worse for Bonnie, since Bunnelby and Baneri also seem to get along, which causes Bonnie to panic even more. Now we are going for a walk together with the two pairings, and we are quickly seeing one of Team Rocket's typical pitfall traps. But since Bunnelby paid attention, only Bunnelby and Lilia got caught, which of course is not Jessie's intention. After this little incident, Clement takes care of Lilia, while Bonnie takes care of Bunnelby, and Bonnie seems to get even more mad, and out of madness, she wants to have a one-on-one talk with Lilia. But instead of telling Lilia her true feelings about the situation, our shitlord instead tries to make Clement less attractive by telling Lilia weird stories about Clement. But strangely enough, she finds those stories really interesting. Such a strange girl. Still being all jelly, Bonnie tries to intervene more and more between Clement and Lilia, which is so obvious that Lilia realized that. But suddenly another pitfall trap activates, and our heroes are captured, and Team Rocket finally can capture Baneri and Bunnelby. After getting out from this pitfall, Clement saves the day like always by presenting some kind of GPS machine which can detect the GPS signal of the bandages which has been used to heal Bumblebee and Lilia. And with that, our heroes can immediately detect Team Rocket's location. During a fierce wall fight between our heroes and Team Rocket, Bonnie gets into a really dangerous situation, but fortunately enough, her brother saves her and tells her that she has to believe in him and his invention, and that protecting Bonnie is the most important thing for Clement, which makes Bonnie really happy. And soon after Team Rocket has been blasted off again in a really hilarious and comedic way, our heroes are parting ways with Lilia, since Lilia realized that Clement might not be the right partner for her, and she indirectly knows that Bonnie wouldn't mind at all. But before the episode ends, we are seeing another hilarious situation between Clement and Bonnie, where everything seems to be normal. Another invention of Clement explodes, and Bonnie falls into her old habit of proposing to pretty ladies. And that's the end of today's episode. So guys, this episode was really fun to watch, so without any hesitation, let's go straight into the rating. What can I say about the story? I'll make it short and simple. The story of today's episode was hilarious and had a lot of comedy. But what I also really loved about today's story was those little moments between Clement and Lilia, and also between Bumblebee and Baneri. But I especially really enjoyed the moments between Clement and Lilia, which in my opinion was really cute. But not only that, I also really enjoyed this jelly attitude of Bonnie, Dedenne, Chespin and Pancham, and of course especially Bonnie, because her jelly attitude caused of course those really hilarious nightmares and imaginations of Clement and Lilia, which I really enjoyed. I have to cut off some points because of course we didn't saw a lot from Ash and Serena, because of course this is a Bonnie and Clement focused episode, which in my opinion was really necessary, since especially Clement didn't got a lot of attention in the past, and I was really glad that he got more attention in this today's episode. But I have to cut off another point because of Team Rocket, because I thought the reason why Team Rocket and especially Jessie wanted to catch Baneri was kinda dumb, so that's why I have to cut off some points. But in the end, the story gets a solid 8 out of 10. What can I say about the focus? Well, the focus explains everything perfectly fine. The first part, of course, the potential bride of Clement, and I could totally see the potential of Lilia being a bride of Clement, because in my opinion there really was a chemistry between Clement and Lilia. Like I said in my story summary, I really enjoyed those little moments between the two of them, and because of that I totally could see something like a pairing between the two of them. I could really see that. And of course the second part of the episode also describes the other half of the episode really perfectly. The literally panic of Bonnie, the panic that she might lose her beloved brother, and because of that she immediately tries to separate Lilia and Clement from each other in a really comedic and hilarious way. I love that. Because of that, I will give it a really good 9 out of 10. What can I say about the animation? Well, first of all, I gotta say the animation of today's episode will score high, because of course the comedic moments were everywhere and they were so hilarious. It's like the writers of the XY anime decided to put every comedic sense of them inside this today's episode, and it was really good. The comedy was so good, it was everywhere. I just enjoyed and laughed my ass out during this episode. But what I didn't like about today's animation was the critical moments. Of course, the moment when Clement tried to save Bonnie. Of course, this was really well animated, but it wasn't as good animated as I expected it to be, because of course this was a climactic situation, and of course the conflict between Bonnie and Clement was shown really good, but like I said, not as good as I expected. But nonetheless, I will give today's animation a solid 8 out of 10. So in the end, today's episode scores a 8.33 out of 10 with the recommendation, guys. Watch it if you really want to see a lot of comedy in the X, Y, and Z anime. This episode really shows that the X, Y, and Z anime doesn't have to be serious 24/7, and there's of course still space left for a lot of comedy and a lot of hilarious situations, and I love that. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed my review like always, and see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!